Hello everyone and welcome back to the Ding Sub podcast. Welcome 2025, we're underway. My name's Dylan Kimlin, sitting alongside me is Herman and Ari. And today's episode we're going to dive into the Major League Pickleball Australia Masters and Challengers drafts. It's pretty early here in Brisbane at the moment. I think Herman and I have about 20 big topics that we need to go over with the other fellas, but because the coffee's still kicking in, we've decided to do a little bit more of a wholesome episode and talk about the drafts. Now, Herman, welcome back, mate. 2025. The pickleball scene is pretty crazy at the moment. What's your overall take of the temperature?
It's exciting. I think as a fan, it's really exciting. I hear there's a lot of drama that's going on, but as a fan, I'm here for it. So I'm excited to see how 2025 plays out. Yeah, loving it, mate. So we'll dive into Masters straight off the bat. So first off, if you are wondering, the Masters and Challenger drafts were very recent, as well as the Premier drafts from Major League Pickleball Australia. Congrats to everyone that got drafted. I did a live watch with Adam from Slam Jam for the Premier, and then I watched both Masters and Challengers drafts. Well done to Sanj, leading them all. We had Katie Hart and Sarah Bird jump in for those as well, so always good to get some expert analysis. So, Herman, what we'll do is we'll just go down the Masters draft order as we go along. So, straight off the bat, for the draft orders, was there anything that really, did you have anyone in your head, you're like, they have to be a top 3 player? Probably Tony Field is sort of a lock. He's normally either number 1 or number 2.
Yep.
And for good reason. He's an outstanding player. Do you know how they picked the draft order?
I'm not too sure. I'm assuming it's random, sort of like a lotto draw. I don't think it reflected Premier at all. If anyone wants to fact check us on that, please leave us a comment.
Please.
But I'm going to assume it's random. That's just the fairest way to do it.
Yeah.
So for the Masters, we can dive into it. So round 1, Captain Mike Newell of the Eastern Rush picked Tech T. Now, pretty solid pick overall. Mike and Tech played last Masters season together.
That's right.
I had no problem with this pick.
Yeah, I thought it was a great pick given that they're a proven commodity in this format. So with the exhibition last year, Tech and Mike played for the Brisbane Breakers.
Yep.
And they actually won it. So they're bringing back half of the championship team, which is always a good thing. They've got that on-court chemistry and they've got experience.
Yep, and we have to give a big shout out to Mike too. He's obviously moved over to China, doing a heap of work there for the scene over there. Mike's done so much for the Australian pickleball scene, so we are very thankful to have him back for the Eastern Rush for the Masters. Now, we'll just go through the picks. We won't delve too heavy on each individual player, but Vipers picked Tony Field. You mentioned
no-brainer.
He was first pick. New Zealand Hustle picked Damon Curtis. Now, for the Hustle, if you haven't seen at home the captain Shane Wilson play, he is next level good.
Yeah, I've never seen him play.
He's a very, very good pickleballer. So I've had the pleasure of covering Shane a couple of times now. I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to tear it up. So he obviously backs for his number 1 pick to back Damon Curtis, so that's also really positive. Following that, we had the Gold Coast Glory Martin Clark captaining that side, picked Terry Robinson from down south. It's another one that I think there was probably a couple of people at home that didn't really know this name. I believe I've covered Terry a couple of times already, and if memory serves me right, she was very solid. So I'm not surprised that Martin locked this person in. In the typical MLP format, we do see females get locked in very quickly. So, not at all surprised to see ladies getting picked straight away. Following that train of thought, with the Mavs, we saw Elizabeth Dobson also getting locked in. So, it seems, we can see immediately the train of thought for duos getting locked in, whether it be a mixed or a gendered side. For the Smash, Ivan Stride.
Yeah, I think that's another no-brainer.
Yeah, I said during the live stream that the Sydney Smash picked the Sydney Superstars.
Yep.
So they just have an all-star lineup of New South Wales-based players. So Ivan, wonderful guy, and also very experienced player. Like, yeah, that was to me, he was a definite top 10 pick.
Yep.
Breakers. Now you're trying to keep your bias to a minimum, from what I've gathered in our conversations before going live. We've got Christian Andrade on board. So for the Breakers with Simone Kessel as the captain, if you haven't seen Simone play, by the way, she's very solid. So them two as a duo, that's a pretty strong combination.
Yeah.
So that should be good.
Did you mention that Simone's like a famous actress?
Yeah, Herman, mate. Needs to get on and watch some TV. I'm not going to delve too deep into what Simone does outside of pickleball, because we're all about pickleball here, but yeah, let's just say she's more well known for her normal job than pickleball.
Yeah, pickleball, that makes sense. And then I think moving on, interestingly enough, the last pick of the first round and the last pick of the first round and the first pick of the second round went to the Crocs. So back-to-back picks, and they went with Naomi Amakawa and Anita Smith.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of these picks.
Yeah, Gordo, obviously, talking about biases, I've got to keep my bias as low as I can for one of my fellow commentators. Currently over in India, by the way, Gordo, tearing it up over there. Vietnam. He goes to India later on this month. But, Naomi and Anita Smith. You know what I found interesting? We saw it happen in season 1 with the Brisbane Breakers had a back-to-back, and they've drafted the Vine brothers.
Yes.
So, obviously, I think if you have that back-to-back draft pick, you tend to pick two players that complement.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Naomi and Anita, this is a good pairing. Naomi's just rock-solid resetter, defensive prowess, and Anita, she can take over a game at any given time. So,
yeah, I think stylistically they match up really well.
Yeah.
I think the only sort of consideration there is that I don't think they live close to each other.
Yeah.
So there might not be the opportunity to train on a regular basis.
Yep.
But stylistically, I think this is a match made in heaven.
Yeah. Yeah, so Gordo off to a good start with his double picks there. For the Breakers, Sharon Tyndall-Ford got locked in, another very solid player. So for the combination of the Breakers, we've got Simone and Sharon. I have no doubts that's just a solid 2 picks straight off the bat there for the Breakers. Smash drafted Mickey Masui. Now, the Sydney Smash thus far, Mandy Corbett as captain, Ivan Stride, Mickey. That's just an all-round good team. So no problems whatsoever. For the Mavs, Captain Tina went back with Michael Frisbee.
Yep.
So that's Elizabeth Dosman and Michael Frisbee straight off the bat. I don't know how long Tina and Michael have been playing together, but it's been a long time.
A long time.
Yeah. So once again, common themes where teams who have teamed up are pairing up again.
Yeah. Well, in the last draft, did she take him in the first round? I think she may have taken him in the first round.
Yeah.
And then I think everyone would have realised that, Tina's going to choose Michael. We'll let her have him. And so instead of picking him in the first round, she got him in the second.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting train of thought. I think I definitely thought Frisbee would have been drafted. I would have seen it happening for the Mavs, but another team definitely could have locked him in as well. But obviously for the Mavericks, that's a no-brainer pick in the middle of the draft. So the Glory then went Annalise Bolton. So very good player. Annalise, very aggressive play style.
Yeah.
So a combination of her and Terry playing alongside Captain Martin. Obviously Annalise and Martin have played together in the past. These two, that's just a good draft thus far for those.
Yeah, and look at where they got it. That's a really good value pick.
Yep.
You don't expect an Annalise Bolton to sort of be around at that stage of the draft.
Yeah. The hustle went Justine Delport. Now, I've had the pleasure of calling Delport in the past. Another good pick. Now, for the hustle, I got to say, I was so happy to see from the Challenger and the Masters so many Kiwis get picked.
Yeah.
It was awesome, man. I talked to a lot of the New Zealand faithful. I'm actually in Wellington next month for their Wellington Cup, and they were so happy with the New Zealand presence of both of these drafts, as well as the NPL drafts as well. So awesome to see. Your takes on any of the... Or what's your take on I know we'll get into Challenger. Actually, you can give the hustle a little bit more of a dynamic look into. But then the Vipers went Liz Highland. Now we were talking about Liz.
Yeah,
off camera.
She's a local BPC member.
Yeah, I don't know if she's a BPC member, but I know she plays here.
Yeah.
Liz has been playing for quite a long time. I've called her many times. Very, very solid player. Quite tall, good reach as well. So Vipers, yeah, sort of a well-rounded group thus far with Ange and Tony. For then Liz to come in, that's a pretty solid pick. So they're very well-rounded as well. Then we had the Rush. Now, we're talking about value picks.
Yeah.
Rosa Morris. Now, Herman said to me off camera, who is that? To which I was...
She played NPL, hey?
Yes.
That's about all I know.
But it's not... Okay, so Rosa, I got to say straight off the bat, once again, bias. I had the pleasure of playing with Rosa in the Melbourne Grand Slam. Very fun event, but Rosa is very high ranked for her division. Okay. She was number 1 in AR for her ranking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like, Rosa's... I said earlier to Herman that Rosa has a similar play style to like a Danielle Townsend, but for her division. So for her to get picked so late, I was very surprised. But for Mike Neal, you know, he's now got Rosa, who's an absolute weapon, and then Tech T as well. Rush are looking good thus far. We then move into the third round, where we probably saw some names that weren't as well known or more of a niche pick. That captain obviously knew that individual. Mavs drafting Jeremy Pearson, Smash drafting Shane Nielsen-Smith. Now, I've had the pleasure of playing against Shane way back when I played tournaments. So that rounds out the Mavs and the Smash thus far. So for the Mavs, we had Bianchi, Frisbee, Pearson, and Dobson. And then for the Smash, we had Mandy Corbett, Ivan Stride, Mickey Massoy, and Shane Nielsen-Smith. Now, for those two teams, does anything really scream out to you?
I think the Sydney Smash, they've just picked a team of superstars from New South Wales, as you mentioned. I think they're an all-round really solid team, and I think they'll do pretty well when it comes to like a dream breaker.
Yeah. Well, that's another aspect of the game we haven't even talked about yet.
Yeah.
Is the dream breaker prowess for the players as well, who, if you don't know what dream breaker we're talking about, is the players will have to play singles if they get into a dream breaker situation. Now, for the Mavs, yeah, they're an interesting one. They're a one to just keep an eye on because we know, in comparison to the Sydney Smash, we know what to expect.
Yeah.
They are very all-round. We know exactly what they're all going to do, and they all get to train together, which I'm not too sure if... the Mavs might all be local, I'm not too sure. But, yeah, Sydney, to me, are a very strong team. That we then continue it on, going in the same light with the twos. So Brisbane Breaker drafted Brad Chan, and Northern Crocs drafted Jason Kerr. So for the Brisbane Breakers overall, their team of Simone Kessel, Christian Andrade, Sharon Tyndall-Ford, and Brad Chan. And for the Northern Crocs, Gordon, as well as Naomi Amakawa, Anita Smith, and Jason Kerr. Thoughts on those two teams?
We'll probably get into it a little bit deeper later, but I'm a big fan of the team the Crocs drafted.
Okay.
I think it'll all sort of depend on how Jason Kerr's come back from a major injury.
Yep.
But I think if he's close to or at 100%, I think the Crocs are going to be a real problem for the competition.
Yeah. I mean, we already talked about the combination of...
Anita Smith and Naomi Amakawa. Yeah.
So those two are already a combo that we know is going to probably pair quite well. Gordon and Jason have played together in the past.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. To me, it comes down to, for Jason, is his mental. He's one of the most controversial figures in Australian pickleball. There's no doubt about it. He can definitely play. There's no doubt about it. It just, for me, this team hinges on Jason, I think, because Naomi and Anita and Gordon are so consistent. So for me, yeah, if Jason fires, the Crocs will be a good team.
Yeah, well, I had the same sort of view. I mean, he's coming back from a major injury. I think if he can get to close to 100% or somewhere thereabouts, I think they'll be okay. I think they'll do really well.
Yep, fair enough. And on this topic as well, so for the Brisbane Breakers, so anything that, like, we know how good Christian Andrade is. So I think he's probably, him and Sharon Tindall-Ford, to me, that's two very solid middle of the draft picks. It's interesting to see how these guys are going to perform. And I think I kind of put them in the same category as the Mavs.
Okay.
Just got to see how they merge together and what they can do. Whereas with the Crocs are similar to the Smash in that they're known quantities. We kind of know what we're going to get.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Now, as we continue on, Eastern Rush drafted Robin Flood, and then the Western Vipers drafted Chris Pascoe. So to round out those teams, Eastern Rush have Mike Neal, Tech T, Rosa Morris, and Robin Flood. And for the Western Vipers, Captain Ange, as well as Tony, Liz Hyland, and Chris Pascoe. What are your thoughts on those two teams?
Well, I love these last round picks. I'm high on the Rush.
Okay.
Again, we'll get into that a little bit later. I love the pick of Chris Pascoe in the last round. They'll pair him with Tony Field.
Yep, for the Vipers. Yep.
They're both Gold Coast locals, hey?
Yeah.
So
well, they can play together a lot. Yep.
Yeah, they'll be able to train on a regular basis, and they should be good to go come the first comp.
Yeah, and once again, I think these two teams are. The cool thing about this format already is we can see. We've already said there's several well-rounded teams. They're all going to go head-to-head against each other, so it makes good entertainment. I really hope we're broadcasting these. By the way, for viewers at home, I actually don't know if these are being live-streamed or not. So that's me just being honest to you all. Just saying, I would love to commentate all of these teams. So just putting that out there. If we can, I will. So, Chris Pascoe, good egg. Like he is one of the good eggs of Australian pickleball. So obviously, we probably know Lucas a little bit more than Chris. But if you have had the pleasure of dealing with Chris in the past, he is a very knowledgeable man, very intelligent man. But also a top bloke. He looked after us in Vietnam. Chris is a good egg in my book. Now, final two picks for the New Zealand Hustle. We had Goretti and Gold Coast Glory, Darrett Gooch. Now, have you had the chance of playing against Goretti before?
Yeah, I've had like a training session with Goretti. Very solid.
Yeah. She's lovely too.
Yeah.
So that rounds out the Hustle with Shane Wilson, Damon Curtis, Justine Delport, and Goretti. So overall thoughts?
I don't know too much about the Hustle, for being honest. I just know Goretti.
Yeah.
I know you did mention that their captain is a gun.
Yeah.
And I'd be excited to see how they gel.
Yeah, for me, I kind of put the Hustle in the same category as the Mavs.
Okay.
And the Breakers in that. But the thing with these guys, they all can train together.
Yeah.
I also think, because if I'm being honest to all the Kiwis watching, New Zealand fan base is rabid. So they're going to have a huge backing behind them, which is awesome. So I'm very excited to see what this team can do. I'm backing them. I've had the pleasure of calling several of these guys, and I'd love to see what they can do. It's just time will tell. Now, for the Gold Coast Glory, they had Martin Clark, Annalise Bolton, Terry, as well as Darrett Cooch. Now, Darrett, by the way, steal of the draft.
Very good.
How was he last pick?
Yeah.
For all of you captains watching right now, when I was watching this, and every time I was like, okay, why is Darrett not drafted? Why is Brad Kluss not drafted? Why is Kate Applegate not drafted? And I would just expect those names as we were ticking along. Brad and Kate not getting drafted, by the way, is an absolute travesty.
Yeah, I'd also chuck Mark Taylor in there as well.
Yeah.
If we're looking purely on play, he's outstanding.
Yeah.
But I guess it sort of speaks to the level of the people who were drafted.
Yeah.
I think time will tell.
Yeah, and I think, it just gives motivation to these other players that missed out to keep on playing. For Darrett, if you haven't watched Darrett Gooch play, probably one of the fastest serves in Australian pickleball.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Very tall individual, hits the ball ridiculously hard. So the combination of Darrett and Martin, straight off the bat, to me, is probably the strongest male pairing.
You reckon?
Yep.
It'd be close.
Like Ivan and Shane will be a very good pairing. Mike and Tech will obviously be a very good pairing.
Mike and Tech, they might be the pick for me. But Gloria right there.
Yeah, I mean, across the board, like there are some good male combinations, but Darrett can just take over a game.
Yeah, that's very true. I think a lot of people are going to see just how fast the serve is.
Good luck lobbing the Glory, by the way. They're also tall. So that's the Glory to me, Martin drafted very well.
Absolutely.
So on that train of thought, we can go through and look at all of the... do you have a top two or top three teams?
Yeah, the top three teams.
Yep.
Probably one of the things with predictions and stuff like that. I'm not sure how many of our viewers, and we probably only have 3 viewers. Probably just Andy Horridge, Sumi, and Harvey.
Is Sumi even allowed to watch us?
But of our 3 viewers, I don't know how many of you guys watch the NFL, but it's playoff season at the moment.
Yep.
And when I was growing up, there was this team that was really good called the New England Patriots. And their quarterback, or their main player, his name was Tom Brady. And every year without fail, they'd find themselves in like a really, really big playoff game. And every year people would find like another team to like build up and say, this team is the favorite against Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, Tom Brady and the New England Patriots got the job done.
Yep.
And so there was like this saying, you don't bet against Brady. And so for me, there's like people that I don't bet against in the Australian pickleball scene. In the Masters, Mike Newell is one of those guys.
Yep.
I don't bet against Mike Newell. And the way he's constructed his team, I think they're going to be like a real problem. Like they're going to be really good.
Yeah, and you finish your train of thought.
I think they're going to be extremely good. Like we discussed, they're bringing back half of the championship team from the exhibition. They got Rosa Morris at the last pick of the second round. I mean, with you having told me like about her, like it sounds like an absolute steal.
Yep.
So I expect them to be very good. I also expect the Glory to be really good as well.
Yep.
Like very, very good with Darrett and Martin. And who else is in there? I think Annalise is there with Terry Robinson.
Yep.
Yeah, so I expect them to be very good as well. And then for me, probably the Crocs. And I'm a big fan of the way that Gordo drafted, especially with those back-to-back picks going Naomi and Anita Smith. I think they're going to gel well, but they'll go as far as Jason Kerr, just in terms of how well he's recovered from his injury, because it wasn't like a little injury he's come back from. If he can be 100%, I think they're going to do extremely well. Those are my 3 top teams.
Yep.
In no particular order.
Yeah, fair call. And good analysis too. You've really delved into it. On the topic of Mike, obviously, easily one of the top coaches in Australia.
Yeah.
To the point that he's been offered a job internationally to go and, help the Chinese pickleball scene. So he knows pickleball. Like, there's no doubt about it. Also runs or is heavily involved with minor league. So, yeah, I agree. He obviously knows what he's doing when it comes to picking good people around him. I would probably back, to me, the number 1 team's Glory thus far. Now, similar to what you're saying with Jason of his health, Martin, I think, comes into that situation.
Okay.
Now, obviously, we won't delve too deeply into it, but Martin did have a little bit of a health situation. It's so good to see him back on the courts. We saw him win that event with Joey Wild at APC. That was cool. That was the story of the tournament for me.
Absolutely. That's probably one of the moments of the year last year.
I would agree. Yeah, so that was awesome, and for him to come back in a captaincy position and draft so well, I'm very excited. They're just across the board, good team. I'm going to go also a more all-round team pick here and back Sydney Smash. Just because they're all, what you're getting. And that's the thing, right? There's a lot of unknowns for some of our viewers. I watch more pickleball than anyone, so I have the privilege of knowing a lot of these players. But for the average viewer at home who might not know, it can be a bit tricky. So in that train of thought, I'm going to back the Sydney Smash as well because we know them all.
Yeah.
They're all very solid. Ivan and Shane, straight off the bat, will win a high percentage of their singles games if they're in a Dreambreaker situation. And Mickey and Mandy are both just so solid. So I like the Smash as well. Crocs to me, Gordo's very good. And Naomi and Anita are very good. But for me, Jason just coming off of a massive injury and also where he's at mentally, probably too many unknowns on that particular one. Believe me, I want them to do well.
Yeah.
And if they do well, good, prove me wrong. I do like the Vipers.
Yes.
Vipers are a good team as well across the board. Yeah, I'll pick the Vipers just because in the same train of thought as the Sydney Smash, they're just a good all-round team.
Yeah.
Chris Pascoe, low-key, very solid.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah, people don't, like, there's always think of Lucas, but Chris is very solid. And Tony Field, in my opinion, is, if not the number one player, he's, him and Darrett going head-to-head, that's going to be exciting. So, across the board, I'm very interested to see how this all pans out, and I'm looking forward to hopefully commentating on all of you at home. Should we dive into Challenger? Or is there anything you want to do for?
I'll just as a general sort of feedback, big ups to the MLPA and the PPA for the way in which they selected the captains of their teams. I thought it was actually really cool to have people from the region be picked as captain. For example, as we dive into the Challenger draft, the captain of the New Zealand Hustle is Nari Naulu. She's a friend of mine. She lives here in Australia, but I tell you what, like the way she talks to me, it's like she's like still lives in New Zealand. It's like I'm a Kiwi, All Blacks this, All Blacks that.
Oh God.
Yeah. I think her husband's a Kiwi too, Baka. But yeah, no, just love the way in which they've picked their captains. They're first and foremost all really good people and great ambassadors for pickleball.
Yeah.
And they're all outstanding players too.
Fair enough. Well, let's delve into Challenger then, because you've kicked us off, and the New Zealand Hustle have the number one pick. So, for anyone that has surely, well, actually, we can't assume that people know, but you've played with Nari before.
Yeah.
Give the viewers a general overview. What can they expect?
No, she's really cool, really good player on the court. Expect fireworks because with the first pick, she drafted Olivia Isby, which I thought was a great pick.
Yeah, and can we expect Vaka to be dressed up in pom-poms and cheering the team on?
Yeah, pom-poms, water, that's it. Water boy, cheerleader, that's about all.
Fair enough.
All he can do at the moment.
So, Olivia Isby, similar to the Masters, just a good pick. Now, I refer to Isby as she's sort of an ace in a hole at the moment for the Australian pickleball scene. In the NPL, she was the number one pick as well, I'm pretty sure. Very high pick in the Queensland space. Former captain of the NPL as well, and now number one pick for the Challenger series. Isby is a gun. There's no other way around it. So she'll also perform very well in Dreambreaker situation. Yeah, just a good pick.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the way the Hustle drafted, we'll go through all the picks sort of one by one, you'll notice that they're all Kiwis. So, like, realistically, I assume that the mindset that...
Is Olivia a Kiwi?
Yeah. Have you spoken to her before?
Yeah, I didn't. But then again, I get South African and New Zealand accents mixed up all the time.
So. They're very different. The South African accents, much nicer.
I can imagine now Ellen, like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
But it just makes me think Nari's probably thinking about drafting a team full of Kiwis that represents New Zealand well.
Yeah.
So she probably had like two realistic like routes or options. It's probably Lexi Conchado or Olivia Isby. And I think she may have played with Olivia last season in the NPL. I know Nari filled in a few times.
Yeah.
And they probably got to play together. But I thought it was a really good pick.
But Olivia's of that quality to me, even if you haven't played her, you just lock her in.
Yeah.
You're just getting, once again, a known quantity. She can play at the highest level. She has several times now. So yeah, solid first pick. Moving on, we then had Western Vipers. Captain Russ has backed. He's gone with another A Horridge. This time it's Alicia. So obviously Russ played with Andy Horridge in season 1. It's really good to see the Russ Horridge name together again. For the Melbourne Mavericks, Captain Chris Baum backed B Horsley. Now, for me, I love both of these picks. Alicia and B, actually all three ladies, Olivia, Alicia and B, very strong female picks.
These captains have nailed it. Russ has picked the better Horridge in Alicia. And yeah, Chris Baum's picked B Horsley, who's, she's a gun, eh?
B is like, I don't know. I think she needs more attention.
Yeah, because I think she should be in real consideration for like Premier. Or I thought with the last draft, not the 2025 one, the season 2. I think with some of the players that were picked, I think she should have been in consideration.
Yeah,
sort of right there. Yeah.
I'd agree. Yeah, B's incredible, and the more she plays, the better she gets. Alicia had a solid season with NPL as well. So those, obviously, those guys. Yeah, it just, to me, no-brainer. Top 3 picks. Now, for the Glory, Captain Jess Hughes, I thought she drafted incredibly well. She went with DFK straight off the bat, Daniel Fogel-Coolidge, who's just come off of a NPL season win with Captain David Richardson. Just good pick.
Yeah, very good pick.
Yep.
It sort of speaks for itself, eh?
Yeah, I mean, DFK's quickly making a name for himself.
Is that his nickname, or is that the nickname you gave him?
No, that's the one he's said to me. So
true, DFK.
Yeah. He's very, very solid player and very proficient in singles. So Dreambreakers, no problems there. By the way, Glory's just a good Dreambreaker team in general as I look at their list.
Yeah.
But the thing with Daniel, right, and this is a story that a lot of players probably don't know, when he won the NPL season with David Richardson, he was huge for Lindsay Baker. So talking about the mental aspect of the game.
Oh, yeah?
He has a very calming presence around his team. And that's the thing. This team is going to be very clear. We will talk about Matt Kuznetsov as we get to his pick as well. But I think, he brings more to he brings off-court stuff as well, which is positive. Awesome. And that's, as a team, got to take this into consideration. So Northern Crocs, I mentioned the weird accents. We have Ellen McDonough. Now, Captain Leona Quinn and Ellen, straight off the bat, that is a terrific duo.
Yeah, I really like this pick because Leona could have gone and drafted her husband, which is what a lot of people do. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, but what she's done here is she's taken a little bit of a risk. She said, I'm going to take Ellen first. There's a small chance that Tara might not be there in round 2.
Yep.
But it just speaks to like the fact that she wants to win and she wants to draft the best team. It's not just, I want to sort of pick my spouse and we'll have fun.
Well, yeah, she just clearly thought Ellen was better than Tan. So that's what it's come down to. Thanks for that, Leona. But no, I agree with what you're saying. So Ellen is, since she started playing pickleball, she has been incredible. Her 2024 was lights out. Like, she was everywhere, winning everything. Good pick. Also, similar to Daniel, like I was talking about, very calm presence.
Yeah.
She's just another good pick. Brisbane Breakers, so Captain the Iceman, David Richardson, coming off of a season-winning victory, has drafted Lexi Contrado. Now, Lexi played season 1 MLPA for the New Zealand Hustle. So did David.
Yeah, he played for the Smash.
Yeah, so both experienced players. The Iceman himself, very good singles player, and just such a calm presence as well. So to me, that's a pretty strong tandem.
Yeah, very much so. Can I just say, like, Iceman, like, that's such a cool nickname. Look, I really like the experience factor. So straight off the bat, you've got, like you said, David and Lexi.
Yep.
they've both played the Premier level MLP format, and hopefully they can just sort of bring that experience to the Challenger scene. I think they'll be in good stead to do well.
Yep, I agree with everything you've just said. Now, the Eastern Rush, Captain Taylor Smith, it's good to have Tay back in high-level pickleball. Obviously, the Padel master himself and a very colourful character on and off court has drafted Ollie Gray. Now, Ollie Gray, I think everyone would have had him a very high chance of getting drafted in Premier and didn't for whatever reason. Couple of names that didn't get drafted in Premier from Australia, like an Ollie Gray, Rob Sterling, Sams Pill, Vish Masand. There's a bunch of names for the males anyway.
Yeah, Harvey Simmons. Nah, you didn't put his name yet.
So shout out Harvey, by the way.
Shout out my guy.
But Ollie getting picked, no brainer.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm surprised he went so low.
Yeah, bottom of the first round.
So Taylor is just, there's this random absolute weapon sitting there. He's drafted him, and those two are going to be very aggressive as a duo. So that's an interesting combination. For the Sydney Smash, so Michael Massey, the Massey name is quickly becoming very well known within Australian pickleball. Both Bernadette and Mary are gun players as well. Michael, probably not as agile as B on the court, however, hits it a billion times harder. So very aggressive play style, strong driving and volleying prowess as well. Has drafted someone who also has strong driving and volleying prowess in Grace Sorbello. Both of them, I'm assuming Michael comes from a tennis background as well. They all seem to be tennis players. Grace, obviously from the UQ tennis scene, I'm assuming she's still there. Very high level tennis player. So these two straight off the bat, that's a scary combo. And I can understand the number one pick for the Smash. Continuing the train of thought with the Smash, they've then drafted Connor Robertshaw. So Connor is, in my opinion, in the same book as Ollie Gray. Actually, talking about players that should have been drafted in Premier, Connor Robertshaw is on that list. To me, he is hands down one of the best players out of New Zealand.
Yep.
Lovely guy, really nice. He continues to grow. I don't know how he keeps getting taller, but he's incredibly athletic. I see Connor and Ollie very similar.
Yeah, Connor to me is like one of the pickleball players that is also like just a pure athlete.
Yep.
Like a pure athlete. And I thought that's a really good value pick to hear Connor Robertshaw go in the second round of the Challenger draft.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, we're just saying it now like it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But it happened.
Yeah, it's crazy to consider. I say that Connor has a AFL player's body. I'm obviously wearing my Richmond shirt today, but Connor looks like an AFL player. He has that build.
Do you go for Richmond?
Oh, no, not at all, mate. I wouldn't be wearing their uniform otherwise. But so the next two picks, Eastern Rush drafted Ashley Graham, and then the Breakers went with another Contrado in Brandon.
Yeah.
Ashley Graham obviously playing NPL multiple seasons now, solid pick for the Rush, and that brings them to Taylor Smith, Ollie Gray, Ashley Graham. And then for the Breakers, we then have the Iceman, Lexi and Brendan Contrado. Obviously, having the two Contrados in the same team, they're going to be meshing well.
Yep.
So I don't think there's much more to say there. They're just solid picks for David straight off the bat. If we continue on, so Northern Crocs, Tan Huynh, and then Gold Coast Glory, Matt Kuznetsov. Now, for Tan and Leona, they are probably the only couple that I know that can still play high level. Anyone else immediately come to mind?
No, not off the top of my head. Oh, Lexi and Brendan.
Trying to think if anyone. There's probably someone really obvious.
Yeah, there probably is.
We're going to cop it in the comments, but sorry.
You're going to cop it.
Yeah, true. So Tan obviously been playing for a long time, very athletic. I refer to him as the Ernie King. Gets 3 Ernies a game. So good luck if you're playing front on to him. Gold Coast Glory getting Matt Kuznetsov. Now, The Kosesov brothers, Dan, Matt, and Timothy, are unreal. Matt, I think this is going to be his breakout year. Like, I honestly think Matt will be considered for Premier at the end of this year, at the end of this season. He's just a weapon. Like, he is so good. And I imagine he is going to comfortably take on Ollie Gray and Connor Robertshaw, if we're talking in that category of younger male players. So, yeah, very exciting from those guys. For the Mavs, they drafted Nicky Mal, and the Western Vipers, James Wilson. Two very good picks. You've had the pleasure of seeing Nicky Mal a fair bit?
Yeah, no, he's a really good player that's just, he's grown so much in such a short period of time.
Yep.
Really, really good mixed player.
Yep.
And he's a good gender doubles player too. So, yeah, I can see the way him and Chris will play on the court. I think they'll be good. Yeah,
so that rounds out the Mavs to the combination of Baum and B, and then Nick Malaganeas, as well as for the Vipers, now they have Russ Horridge and James Wilson. So if you haven't seen James Wilson play yet, he is very good.
Is he a Kiwi?
Yeah.
Okay.
So straight off the bat, James is a very solid player. I think he's probably going to be a dark horse. There's going to be a lot of players that might not have had the chance to play against him yet. Definitely one to keep an eye on. Yeah, I was not at all surprised to see his name get pulled. And speaking of very good Kiwi players, New Zealand Hustle then drafted Will Dewhurst. Now, Will is in the same light as James, both very good players. Will's a very experienced player, has also helped build the New Zealand pickleball scene.
Oh, yeah?
So he's been, very busy over there, and it's a really good story to see that he got picked as well. Hustle once again. Phew. So a combination of Nari, Isby, and then Dewhurst. Yeah, Hustle thus far a very strong team.
Yeah.
So if we continue, Northern Crocs then drafted Hamish, and then the Brisbane Breakers, Kirsty McCorkindale. Have you had much of a chance to watch Hamish Bardos play?
I'm not sure if it's the person I'm thinking of, but did he play NPL?
I believe he did. Memory serves me right. I think he... Yeah, I'm going to have to... I've got morning brain at the moment. The coffee hasn't fully kicked in.
I'm pretty sure I've seen him play. He's very solid.
Yeah.
And that's a good last round pick. I'm pretty sure he's a gun at singles too, from memory.
Yep. So for the Crocs, that brings out their whole team. Leona Quinn, Ellen and Tan, and then Hamish on top of that. Across the board, just a solid team all round. For the Breakers, that finishes their team. They have David Iceman Richardson, as well as the two Contrados, and then Kirsty McCorkindale. For Kirsty, fun little fact for you all, she's playing in two teams with Lexi. So she got drafted in MPL as well to play with Lexi, and then playing with David Richardson side with McCorkindale Contrado. So those two are going to have a lot of time in the oven as a team. We can only hope it works out. My number one fan is Kirsty's mum, so I have to say lots of positive things to Kirsty. But I'm a big fan of Kirsty and her game, and no doubt she will continue to improve as the year goes on.
Absolutely.
Eastern Rush, Brooke Mundy, finishing off for Taylor Smith. Now, Brooke is a very solid pick across the board. The Eastern Rush now have Smith, Gray, Graham, and Mundy. Good luck taking that team on in singles. That is a very solid Dreambreaker combination. And across the board, Brooke probably brings in a little bit more of that veteran leadership, which I think is good, because the rest, like Ollie and Ashley, are in that younger category. Taylor's a little bit more in between the other picks. So for Brooke to come in as a leadership role, I think is a very solid.
Yeah, I think she's a really solid pick, a good value pick for round 3.
Yeah.
She could have gone higher, I reckon.
I agree. Now, for the Sydney Smash, they drafted Sonia, which is a feel-good story for the Moreton Bay region. I obviously know Sonia from...
I thought you were going to say for yourself, because I can remember when she first started playing pickleball, we all used to play at Morayfield, hey?
Yeah, I may have first introduced Sonia to pickleball, so I try not to show my bias. Herman, thank you for bringing it
Right,
up.
I'll show it for you.
Yeah, that's okay. Big shout out to Sonia. Well done. I was super happy to see that she got picked. Now, for the Sydney Smash, they have the combination of Massey and Robert Shaw for the gentlemen, and then Sorbello as well as Sonia as well.
Yeah, they've gone lefty-righty with the females, hey?
Yeah.
Grace is a lefty?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, interesting to see how these... I think the Sydney Smash are a team to watch whether they all gel. Obviously, Massey and Sorbello are quite fiery on the court. Connor Robertshaw just jumps around like a Labrador. And then Sonia, she'll just sort of slot in as a final pick. I think that's pretty solid. New Zealand Hustle. I still haven't met this gentleman yet. Everyone tells me he's a gun. Jose, you've played with him. Give the viewers a...
Yeah, he's a gun. He's an absolute gun. He deserved to be drafted. I think maybe over the past maybe few months he's been a bit underrated. Like I
haven't met him yet. It's like but
I thought he was unlucky to not be drafted in the NPL last season. He did get to fill in a few times.
Yeah.
But to see him drafted here with the last pick, I thought it was a good value pick again.
And if everything you say is correct, that means the Hustle have drafted an all-star team.
Yeah, they do have a very good team.
Yeah. So they've got the combination of Captain Nari and then Olivia Isby, Will Dewhurst, and Jose Delgado as well. So, yeah. For the Vipers, they picked Lizzie Brady. A good news story out of New Zealand once again, another Kiwi. So no doubt the New Zealand faithful will be backing the Vipers as they have both the combination of Wilson and Brady coming from NZ, as well as Captain Russ and a Horridge as well. So two solid picks there from those two teams. For the Mavs and Glory, Mavs picked Casey Lee Smith. Now, Casey Smith is a good news story. She's obviously going through some stuff at the moment, but a very solid player and also a great person. So she's going to be such a nice calming presence to round out the Mavs. And the Mavs look fun, man. Chris Baum, B. Horsley, Nikki Mal, and Casey coming around.
That team's going to be a vibe, eh?
Yeah, that'd be a good time. So I think, that's really fun, and I really hope Casey has a great season. That'd be good to see. And then the final pick, Gold Coast Glory drafted Michelle Patterson. So that means their team is Jess Hughes, Daniel Fogel-Coolidge, Matt Kuznetsov, and Michelle Patterson. Once again, another just solid pick. Jess drafted well. If anything, she drafted a top 3 team well. So we'll probably dive into that aspect now, Herman.
Yeah.
Top 3 teams for Challenger.
Top 3 teams. Well, honourable mention to the Glory. I think on paper, Kuznetsov and for DFK, I think on paper they're really good. I'd love to just see how it plays out in real life.
Yep.
Just given that I don't think they live in the same city, so they might not be able to get as many reps in as these other teams. But for me, my top 3 teams, start off with the Breakers. So you got the Contrados, Iceman, and they ended off with Kirsty. For me, it's more to do with experience. So you got Lexi, who's played Premier, Iceman, who's played Premier, and they should be able to take that experience into this format. That's why I like them. I really like the Rush.
Yep. Okay.
And I'm not a fan of the Rush franchise, but they've drafted really well in the Masters and the Challengers.
What is the Rush franchise? All right. So sorry, Katie.
I thought we weren't talking about Premier today.
For the Rush franchise, what do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I've got them as in my top 3 for Masters and also a Challenger. No, but I really like the Rush. They might actually be my top team. When you think about it, you got Taylor Smith paired with Ollie Gray, and to round it off, you've got Ashley Graham and Brooke Mundy. I thought one of the key picks was Brooke Mundy as the last round. That's most of the time. When you pick a last round pick, they're probably not as good as the rest of the team. But that's not the case with the Rush. They're very solid all round.
Yep. No, fair call.
And then I guess my third team.
Mate, you've just said 5 teams, but yeah, go on. You're right.
Mate, the more teams you mention, the better chance you have of picking the right answer.
True, yeah.
The Crocs. I like the Crocs.
Yep.
Very solid. I think they have huge potential, huge upside, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did well. Honourable mention to the Hustle as well.
Wow.
But not in my top 3.
Hustle are my number 1.
I'll probably be proven wrong.
Yeah, Hustle are my number 1. I think, Nari obviously has...
How good is Dewhurst?
He's a gun. Like, if what you're saying about Jose is correct...
Bro, Jose is gun.
Will's in that same line of thought. Like, if those two are as we can anticipate, then Hustle are a top 3. Like, no doubt in my mind. We know how good Olivia is. She's very good.
Yeah, she's.
If anything, Nari probably has a little bit of pressure to perform to the standards of the teams that she's drafted. Obviously, she's a gun.
Yeah.
But she has drafted so incredibly well. So,
And Dewhurst is a lefty, hey?
Oh, I think so.
I think he's a lefty, so it'll be lefty-righty. Jose will probably play the left side.
Yeah, sorry, Will. I'm trying to remember whether you're a lefty or not. It's been a little while. But Hustle are great. Across the board, they are very solid. I think I do like the Glory. Matt Kuznetsov, in my opinion, is due for a huge 2025. This, to me, will be his breakout year where teams realise he is a weapon. Jess Hughes is solid, by the way, as a captain.
Yep.
And then Fogel Kulich coming off a winning season already. And then Michelle to round it out. I think, once again, very consistent team. I like the Sydney Smash. I think the combination of Massey and Robert Shaw are going to be able to take on just about every other male combination in the draft.
Would you pick them if I was to say that the like Sydney Smash versus the Rush, they're men's doubles, who wins? Ollie Gray, Taylor Smith versus Michael Massey and Connor Robert Shaw.
Yeah, I'd back the Smash.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I'm not even like, only because, and Taylor's going to tear into me next time I see him.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Yeah, but Taylor's had a little bit of time off, whereas Connor and Michael have been playing non-stop.
Nah, Taylor will be right.
Ollie obviously is a gun. We know how good Ollie is, but I just think, I think people sleep on Michael Massey a little bit. I think he's going to come out and play very strong, and as such, same with the ladies. Grace and Sonia, obviously I'm a little bit biased with Sonia, but Grace is very solid as well. Yeah, I think Smasher low-key. For the third pick, who do I back? You did mention the Crocs. Crocs are very
I like
reliable. Eastern Rush are obviously very good as well. So it is a bit of a tricky one.
Yeah, just feel free to copy me. I've got all the answers.
Well, I've already picked 2 teams that you didn't. So I'll go the Mavs. I do like...
Yep.
And I'm trying to pick... I noticed that I've immediately picked teams that are not from Queensland. So Hustle, Smash and Mavs. But I actually do like the Mavs. For me, the big one there is Casey. I know what Casey's form was like when she was playing very consistently, and she is very solid. I find, for anyone that's watching that's seen Cole McMillan play, I find that they have very similar play styles, and as such, Casey was at the same level as Cole. If she can get back to that form, the Mavs across the board are solid, but it's an if. B. Horsley, in my opinion, is like top 3 females of this draft.
Yeah.
Nikki Mal is a absolute igniter. He can just pop off, and as such, their team to me is pretty solid. So, yeah, it's good that we've gone different picks.
Yeah, it is good.
It means that the draft is well rounded.
Yeah.
So
I thought you were just trying to be different, but
no, they're genuine. We'll do one final little segment, I know, because you've got to duck off to work. It is nice and early this morning. How much time have we got? 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, something like that.
Cool. If you could pick an MVP potential for both Masters and Challenger.
MVP. Oh, wow.
I deliberately put him on the spot.
You've put me on the spot. Okay, so I think for me, when we talk about like MVP considerations, your team has to be good, right?
Yeah.
That's like you won't be picking an MVP from like a bottom 3 team. So I assume I'm going to have to pick it from one of my top 3 teams. So in the Masters, I had the Rush, Glory, and the Crocs. I'm going to pick the MVP to be from the Rush. And I'm going to pick Rosa Morris.
You're going to back Rosa. Okay.
From what if what you've told me is true, it's going to be Rosa Morris.
Okay.
Or Mike Newell.
Okay.
In Challenger, ooh, I went the Breakers, Rush, and Crocs. You're pretty much making me tell you like which team I like the best.
No, it's just who you back teams, players on form.
It'd be a player from the Rush. Be Ollie Gray.
Yep.
I think just given his experience.
And that's a fair pick. I think both of your picks are fair. For me, I'm actually going to pick from the Glory. I'm going to back Darrett. I think just because I know how he thinks from my interactions with him getting picked last pick, he will take offense to that.
Yeah. He's taken that personally for
Yeah,
sure.
he will take offense to that. He will want to come out and kill teams. So as a result, if you're versing Darrett, good luck.
Yeah.
Get your blocking ready. I think he's going to come out and try and dominate. I think, and that's because I was a little bit surprised at your Rosa pick. Rosa is amazing, but can she take over a game? Potentially. Darrett, I think, can take over a game. And him and Martin are just lethal as a duo. I do also want to give a big shout out to Shane Wilson from The Hustle. I think he's going to have a stellar year as well. You are right in that the team overall has to do well.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the question for The Hustle, whether as a team they can do very well. But I think Shane individually will play very solidly. For the Challenger, I actually think this is the year that Connor Robertshaw takes off.
Oh, that's a good pick.
I mentioned Matt Kuznetsov also having a great year. To me, Ollie Gray is a known quantity, and if he gets MVP, fair enough.
Yep.
You know, there's no dramas there. But Connor Robertshaw, to me, I think this is his year. He, for whatever reason, didn't get drafted in season 2, and then I think, you know, he should be. In consideration for teams going forward. Same as Ollie Gray, same as Matt Kuznetsov. Like, those guys are all in that category. But there's so many good teams across this board here that could get it. So I think that'll be solid. We'll round things out as we're pushing an hour now.
Yeah.
Our next topic that we want to discuss, and it'll be interesting to get viewer feedback, is we want to discuss franchises. So like a franchise draft. So, for instance, obviously teams like Southeast Asia Surge and Southern Stars are not in this, but we would love to see like a Eastern Rush Premier, Eastern Rush Challenger, Eastern Rush Masters. How do those guys go overall?
Yeah. Like, so now we've got 8 franchises within Australia that have a Masters team, a Premier team, and a Challenger team. If we were to factor in the finishing position of each team in their, I guess, competition, Masters, Premier, and Challenger, which franchise would have the highest accumulative finish? Essentially, we're asking which is going to be the best franchise in 2025 if we were to factor in the results from all 3 competitions.
Yeah, so that's a conversational piece. If you have any opinions, please let us know. We'll mention it in our next episode. Herman and I are probably going to do weekly
Something like
chats
that.
like this. So we will do another episode where this will be our next topic. We will discuss the franchises. So let us know. It'd be good to get your opinions. We do have a couple big tournaments coming up. I'm in Port Macquarie this weekend. So if you're going to Port Macquarie, hopefully I'll get this episode out before I travel down. It'd be awesome to see you at Dinkfest. Mate, you've got friends from America coming over, so you're travelling to Melbourne and Sydney.
Yeah, I'm down there this weekend.
Yeah, you're going to play pickleball?
We'll see.
Mate, you're with Americans. You're definitely going to play pickleball. Pretty funny little story just to round us out. I have obviously been doing work with the Australian Baseball League. One of the gentlemen I work with lives in Perth and knew Andy. He's like, yeah, I know Andy. He's a gun. And I reached out to Andy. I was like, hey, do you know this guy from Perth? And he's like, no, I never heard of him.
Oh, he probably heard of Andy because of Andy's sister, because she's the gun.
Yeah, true. A Horridge. Yeah. So, Andy, mate, you got to look after your fans. What are you doing? But big shout out to those fellas. Hopefully we can have them on for an episode soon, assuming Sumi's allowed. That's another episode coming up when we're not feeling so nice. This is the Dinks Up Podcast. Dylan and Herman closing things out. We hope you have a lovely week. And we'll see you on the episode soon.
Sounds good.
Cheers.
All right, hear me out. Now, if we can go and do like a boxing ring sort of thing, kind of like it's time for the monthly episode of blah, blah, blah. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. I reckon that would go all right.